Hello everyone. So the country that was given to us is Timor-Leste. So in this video, we're going to talk about the form of government and structure of government, legislative, judiciary, and executive of Timor-Leste, the election process, economy, foreign relations, political culture, and the military of Timor-Leste. But before that, let's take a look on the historical background of Timor-Leste. So, the Timor-Leste is the newest state in Southeast Asia and one of the least developed countries in the region. One of the world's smallest countries, and according to the 2015 census, the Timor-Leste has 1.2 million population, and the first Europeans arrived in early 16th century are the Portuguese. So in 1945, the Timor-Leste was granted fiscal and administrative autonomy. In April 1974, the Carnation Revolution in Portugal triggered political mobilization in Portuguese Timor, wherein several political parties were found, including the left-wing nationalists or the Fretilin and the UDT or the conservative pro-Portuguese Timorese Democratic and the pro-Indonesian Timorese Popular Democratic Association, wherein in August 1975, the conflicts of these parties resulted into civil war, wherein Fretilin emerged as victorious party, declared independence. So the Timor-Leste was integrated as Indonesia's 27th province. Um, so the form of government and its structures. So the Timor-Leste has a semi-presidential constitution with a popularly elected fixed-term president and the prime minister and cabinet, or the council of members, wherein they are accountable for parliament. And it has also legislative power, or the national parliament and government, and has also executive power, wherein president and prime minister. The judicial branch, it was headed by the Supreme Court. Other constitutional bodies include the Council of State, Ombudsman, Superior Council for Defense and Security, Superior Council for the Judiciary, and the Central Bank section. So the President is the head of state, guardian of national independence and unity, and Supreme Commander of the National Defense Force according to Section 74, and elected in two-round system with majority for 5-year term that is renewable once, that was stated in Section 75, and can be impeached by the Supreme Court of Justice if the President has committed crimes in office and clear and serious violations of his or her constitutional obligation that was stated in Section 79 too. The impeachment can be initiated by the fifth of the members of parliament and sustained by a two-thirds majority according to Section 79, and he appoints the Prime Minister upon a proposal of the majority coalitions in the national parliament that was stated in Article 85D and Article 106 of the Constitution. And it can only be dismissed Prime Minister and Council of Ministers after the government lost the support of the Parliament or needed to ensure the regular functioning of democratic institutions according to Section 112, and can appoints and dismisses the cabinet ministers and the chief of staff of the defense force upon the approval of the prime minister. So hindi rin basta-basta yung pag-impeach ng president nin. And he has exclusive authority to initiate the preventive or abstract judicial review of legislation, possesses legislative veto powers, and can initiate popular referenda according to Section 85. And the President also can veto parliamentary legislations as well as decree laws passed by the government or the Decreto Ley Governo. The national parliament can overturn presidential veto by either an absolute majority of its members that was stated in Section 88(4) of the Constitution. And the President can presides over meetings of the Council of States, an interinstitutional deliberative body, and the Superior Council for Defense and Security, which advises the President in matters of national defense. And the President also can appoint the Presidents of the Supreme Court of Justice and all administrative, tax, and audit courts, the Prosecutor General, and ambassadors, and can also impose a state of emergency when authorized by Parliament. So the Prime Minister and Council of Ministers, they possess executive power, and wherein the Prime Minister, head of government, directs the actions of the Council of Ministers, sets out essential political guidelines, and ensures coordination of government's action and the public administration. So, yun yung trabaho ng Prime Minister. And accountable to the President and the National Assembly according to Section 107, and can only be dismissed after the National has rejected the government's program for 2 consecutive times. A vote of confidence is not passed by Parliament, or a vote of no confidence is passed by an absolute majority of the members of the legislative, that was stated in Section 86G and Section 112 of the Constitution. And the Prime Minister can determine the number, responsibilities, and organizations of government ministries. So let's talk about the Parliament. So the Parliament has unicameral legislature and has 65 members of national parliament elected through proportional representation system for a 5-year term, and can petition and interpellate members of the Council of Ministers, and can appoint a commission of inquiry at the request of at least 10 members. Responsibility for lawmaking is shared with both Parliament and government. They both propose laws, but certain political matters are reserved for Parliament, as stated in Section 95. And government-sponsored laws sponsored by Parliament need to be approved by the Parliament. So the interaction between the presidency, cabinet, and legislature, their interactions occupy the center of the political scene in semi-presidential regimes. There are 2 types of conflicts that are empirically current in Timor-Leste. So the intra-executive conflict, characterized by intense confrontation between the President and the Prime Minister, who is supported by the Parliament, and the other one is the conflict between a united executive and Parliament, which takes place when the President and Prime Minister from an alliance the legislature. So the legal and judicial system. The Timor-Leste's legal system is based not only on the Roman civil law tradition, but also includes traditional law, wherein they call as adat and lisan. And according to Constitution, all courts are independent and bound only by law, that was stated in Section 119. And the district courts are the courts of the instance for civil, social, and criminal cases, while members of the armed are tried in military courts for criminal offenses, that was stated in Section 130, and designated appellate court provides the next instance. The Constitution stipulates the creation of administrative and tax courts led by a high administrative tax and audit courts that also serves as a general accounting office according to Section 129. So let's talk about the electoral system and election of Timor-Leste. So in March 1975, the Portuguese Timor's only local election, and this remained the most democratic elections until 2001. And all elections were widely considered to be free and fair, and there was broad participation of the population despite sporadic violence, some vote buying, and threats by losing political parties to not to accept the election. So, ganun po yung nangyayari every election ng Timor-Leste. And the political parties and party system. So, in 1974, it is called the Carnation Revolution that was triggered the formation of a Timorese party system wherein new parties that were organized include the Conservative or UDT, the Pro-Indonesian Integrationist, or the APODETI, the Social Democratic Association of Timor or ASDT, to be merged with the left nationalist Fretilitin. Later, the individual politician and their role in the politics is not limited to the recruitment of political personnel. So the Timor-Leste has transitioned from a party system which one dominant party, or what we call Fretilitin in 2001, to moderate multi-party system in 2007. So, let's talk about the economy of the Timor-Leste. So, Timor-Leste, the Democratic Republic of Timor-Leste, is a unitary and decentralized state. So, the Timor-Leste has 13 districts, 67 sub-districts, 442 townships, and 2,225 villages or neighborhoods. So the head of districts and sub-districts administrations appointed by national government and act under instructions from the government. So wherein they are responsible to the Ministry for State Administration. And members of the local councils are not public servants but receive allowance. And Timor-Leste has faced considerate challenges in establishing its stateness. And the biggest challenge lies in the reorganization and enforcement of the state's monopoly on violence. Also face significant challenges in building up an effective administration in large part due to a dearth of educated and qualified personnel. So, the civil military relations and security governance. During 2000s, Timor-Leste's security sector has suffered particularly from the conflicts between the east and the west of the country. And the three sectors comprises three services, which are the military, the national police, and the national intelligence service. So the military, particularly the officer ranks, are staffed mostly by volunteer veterans. Many of the early PNTL members were former Indonesian POLRI personnel, and the SNI was established in 2009 together with the Military Intelligence Services and the Reconnaissance Section PNTL. It forms the Timorese intelligence sectors. The President serves as Supreme Commander of the Defense Force, but the Minister, Minister of Defense holds actual command authority. And since 2005, the Superior Council of Defense and Security advises the President in all matters of defense and security, as well as the appointment of Armed Forces Chief of Staff. So it consists of the President, Prime Minister, Minister for Defense, Justice, Inferior, Foreign Affairs, the incumbent or FFDL Chief of Staff, the commanding PNTL officer, and three representatives of Parliament. The parliamentary oversight over the security sector is exercised by the Committee for Defense and Security, and government activities in internal security are coordinated by the Prime Minister, who is assisted by the Interdepartment Security Committee, and the Council, wherein they monitor the intelligence service. And the President and Parliament appoints its members. The Council reports to the government. So, ganun po yung parang trabaho nila or functions nila. And a series of institutional reforms, including the establishment of the Ministry for Defense and Security, new laws on national and internal security, and a defense law integrated both the military and the police under a common ministry to reduce friction after 2008. And the President can involve the military to quell the and unrest. Since 2002, the military has taken on some additional police tasks, while the police has increasingly become a paramilitary force with the creations of several heavily armed special units. So, the foreign relations of Timor-Leste, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Cooperation is the central government body wherein responsible for the design, implementation of coordination and evaluation of the policy set out and approval by the Council Ministers for the areas of international diplomacy and cooperation, and consular function and promotion and defense of the interests of the Timorese living abroad. So, the Minister of State and for Foreign Affairs is to plan and implement the preparation for the adhesion of Timor-Leste to the Association of Southeast Asian Nations or the ASEAN. So, Timor-Leste joined the United Nations on September 27, 2002. It pursued membership in ASEAN and became the member of the ASEAN Regional Forum in July 2005. So, the Timor-Leste's foreign policy places high priority on its relationships with Indonesia, including Malaysia, Australia, and Singapore, and friendly countries and donors such as the US, China, the European Union, Japan, and Portugal. So, the Timor-Leste has a narrow export basket as oil and gas export. So, ito po yung mga products ng Timor-Leste wherein they export these products into different countries. It includes also the petroleum, coffee, locust beans, seaweed, sugar beet, cane for food, and scrap iron. They trade in these countries, which are the Singapore, South Korea, China, Indonesia, India, Japan, and some countries in Asia. And since it gained independence in 2002, the Democratic Republic of Timor-Leste has strived to create a democratic and effective state of the ashes of colonial rule, armed conflict, and foreign occupation with the assistance of the United Nations and other international actors. The new nation has undergone enormous state and democracy building efforts since the turn of the century. As unique as this development has been, Timor-Leste still faces challenges that plague many post-colonial states, post-conflict societies, and least developed countries. Foremost among these is the emergence of a commodity oil-based rentier economy, weak state capacity, a vulnerable security situation, organized crime, and gang violence, as well as challenging demographics. Despite these challenges, democracy has been surprisingly resilient so far. The Timorese political system has not become overly fragmented and polarized, and the state with international assistance has avoided near collapse despite polarization between the East and West. So that's all for today, and thank you so much for listening. I'm Naw-it Hyasheen B from the Department of Political Science 3D, and I hope you learned a lot. And if you have queries or questions, just comment or type your questions to the comment section, and I will try to answer it. Thank you so much.